news report from the Saugaverse. I am here in Memorial Park in Port Credit because I was inspired by a comment I read on Twitter. So I decided to put together a short documentary type news report about the possibility of putting in an ice surface here in Memorial Park in Port Credit. Now if you noticed, I did use the term surface as opposed to rink. The idea for an ice surface here in Memorial Park would be for public skating. It is not for organized hockey or figure skating because it just isn't wide enough for that. Now the idea would be to put an ice surface on this paved surface that is already here for people to walk on. Now during the summer months, Memorial Park here is very busy. Weekends, there are music festivals. Matter of fact, this whole park is kind of designed to run music festivals. That's how it's set up. Hey, if you look behind me, you can see the band shelf. Well, it's actually a pavilion, but if you look at the roof, the structure itself is made to amplify sound. So a big band can play underneath the old pavilion and sound goes all across the park. It's pretty cool, but it's made for summer activity. Well, except for the actual music concept of the park, it does have a couple extra features like the basketball hoops and basketball courts, and it does have a board skating type of rink for kids to come out with their skateboards and rollerblades and just putt around, or on their bicycles too, I guess. However, during the winter months, this park remains pretty much dormant. Well, except for maybe people walking their dogs and stuff like that, but there's a lot of space here not being used. Well, attempts have been made here to put in like a temporary outdoor rink, but it's very weather dependent and of course it's hard to maintain. People skate here on the Credit River when it's frozen, but of course it can be dangerous because there is a river underneath it, and besides it's hard to maintain and keep smooth as a glass all the time, especially when it snows. The most practical idea in order to have an outdoor skating surface here in this park would be to put pipes underneath this pathway all around the park and freeze it. And that requires an ice making type of machine and of course a Zamboni to clean it, clear it, keep it maintained nice and smooth. And that would come from the rink behind me, as you can see up there. So the rink has that. Is it powerful enough to actually promote the ice making equipment all through this park? Who knows, you might need another one installed. But anyway, that would be what happens here. Okay, let's take a look at the map of Google Earth looking down on the park. We can trace the route around the park, and if you look, it's about a half a kilometer long from start to finish around in the circle around the park. That would be the length of skating room you'd get. It's fairly wide. It's not a rink. It's just a skating surface where you can actually take your family and go for a big tour around the park. It's pretty cool. Now on the positive side of things, think of all the people that would come out if there was an ice surface here in Memorial Park. The place would be full of people skating 7 in the morning, 10 at night, because there's lights all over these trails and pathways, so you could literally skate here 24/7. Then vendors would come out selling hot dogs and maybe hot chocolate and coffee, and then you got the spin-off effect of people coming out here skating and then walking over to Lakeshore Road and hitting all the pubs and restaurants, having chicken wings and drinks, and it would be just a fun time. That would all be the benefit of having an outdoor skating rink here in Port Credit. Oops, I said rink, but I mean a skating surface. Of course, the downside to putting in an ice surface here in the park is that several years ago this whole park was revamped. It was reconstructed, rebuilt. So the idea of putting in an ice surface may have already been brought up by government and then dropped. So that might have already occurred. They've already put a lot of money into this park, and to revamp it again to put in an ice surface, well, that might not be the best idea. Well, not for government, because there's a lot of money has to go into doing this, and they may not want to spend it because this park has been redone just recently. Yes, it's very possible to put in an outdoor skating surface here in Memorial Park. The big factor, of course, is cost. And then, of course, you need the equipment here, you need the construction, and after all that's done, you need someone to maintain it, keep the ice smooth and flooded and cleared, even when it snows. So that's the downside. Will there be an artificial ice surface in Memorial Park in Port Credit in the near future? Probably not, but it is a fantastic idea.